Hi everybody, hope you're doing marvellously well. I'm sitting here in Modena, Italy, at IK with the Lorenzos.
Yep. How are the chances, right? Yeah.
Who was first?
I was first.
So you're Lorenzo 1 and you're Lorenzo 2?
Yeah, I'm more recent addition to
Or
it.
senior and junior?
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is going to be fun. So we have a lot to talk about. We've got T-RackS. Anybody who's ever watched a Produce Like a Pro video will know I have been using T-RackS, I think, since the beginning. 2000, something like that?
1998, actually.
Oh, then, yes, definitely from the beginning. I think I was doing records with Dave Jordan. We were T-RackSing it and then L2ing it and sending off all our mixes. It was really good. Anyway, cut a long story short. So I've been a T-RackS user forever, and I've done lots of videos with you guys over the years talking about T-RackS. And just as a side note, just going to throw it in there, our good friend Josh Hills, who is ICMP professor and a Sony mastering engineer, believes that the Stealth, by the way, is the best limiter on the market. So we're going to be doing a video on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off talking about T-RackS. We're also going to talk about the new Sunset Sound Studio 2, which is very close to my heart. I have made 50, 60, 70 albums in that place. Definitely been in there to do singles, and some of the biggest records I ever made were in Sunset Sound, and it's we're close family friends with the owners, and so very excited to talk about that. Over to you, Lorenzo Senior.
Yeah, so as you said, you're very familiar with T-RackS. So
Yes, very, very.
T-RackS 5 came out in 2017, and T-RackS 5 basically had the same idea of the original T-RackS. So it was offering pretty precise analog gear models, plugins for the users to experience, and it had a lot of compressors, EQ.
Well, one of the things I'm going to interject there. Sorry, one of the things that I enjoy about what you do. So, for instance, if you go to your 1176, it sounds like an 1176 kind of with a little steroid injection. Do you know what I mean? It's it was actually, I was just mixing live, and it wasn't plug-in dependent. I was using everybody's plugins. I was using whatever I wanted. And I realized that if I grab an 1176, your 1176, and put it on a vocal, it also, not only does it compress it, it also just adds enough grit and brightness that I didn't have to EQ it as aggressively.
Yeah.
So it becomes like one plug-in for two. It's like all the characteristics that I love about 1176, but just kind of with a little bit of an extra line added to it.
That's more or less the vibe that you get from a real 1176, right? When you have it there and you plug it, it's not only doing compression, it does a lot of stuff. And that stuff is hard to reproduce on plugins. And basically, T-RackS 5 was made with physical modeling, so meaning that we had access to the real hardware. We modeled every circuit, everything. Yeah. But that's not enough. I mean, there was a lot of trial and error and a double check with the ears with a real 1176. And we tried to put also the mojo from the machine, the vibe that the machine gave, not only the compression pattern and stuff like that. And that is basically the concept behind all the analog modeling that we do.
Great.
From Amplitude 2 was designed as the same way.
Yeah.
And also there's a lot of experience, IK is, again, super popular on the amplifier stuff, and all that knowledge, how to model something that is non-linear by design really transfers also to, when doing studio gear as well. So
Great.
That's maybe the magic sauce. I can't tell you the secret, but that's what I can tell you, actually.
I like the plug-in on steroids. To me, anything that gets me the results quicker without having to use 2 or 3 different plugins, one to do it. So take us through. This is a song. This is one of your songs, yeah?
Yeah, this is a song that I mixed in my own studio 6 years ago, I think it was. 7 years ago. And so just jumping for T-RackS 6, what we think was missing from T-RackS 5, and we decided to do T-RackS 6, was the creative part. So in T-RackS 5, we're lacking effects, we were lacking stuff that made people design stuff and try effects and create some effects that were new, that was creative. And that's something that is very useful for modern productions. We decided to implement new modules that delivers creativity to users. It allows users not only to have great analog stuff, but also have great creative tools to design their music. So I will showcase something. Here, for example, I will try to a bit further when the voice starts, yes. So, for example, one new model was the Jochi Carelli one, which came out with right after T-RackS 6. So this one is not, it's analog stuff, right? But the way we work with Joe, it delivers creativity to the users and gets the user to the point they want quick. That's the secret, because creativity fades away. If you take time to dial in stuff, the creativity struggles, right? So if you bypass this, this is what the plugin is actually doing. So it's basically taking almost raw voice and put it where it needs to be in the mix. With
air.
Yeah.
A lot of air.
Yeah.
So you go, oh, there's your air control, the presence. Yeah. You hear it. But I like that because we were talking about this, David and I, earlier about how you don't necessarily want to EQ exactly the frequency you hear. I know that sounds stupid, but both Dave Jordan and Jack Douglas used to say to me, if you want more air above, don't just go 7K boost, go above it and boost it, and it'll give you a much more beautiful, gentle slope. And you don't get that harshness.
Yeah, basically this one is a vocal strip. It still is analog stuff, but it's created in a way that allows people to get there quick and also have, as you said, it's not high frequency, it's not EQ, high band, it's air, because it sounds like something you trim and gets you what you...
We sort of boost to like 32K, and it brings in a nice, beautiful, soft shelf.
But this is one just model, but now we can move on to the more creative stuff. Yeah. For example, if you take the bass track in the original mix had a lot of distortion going on, stuff. It was pretty distorted bass line. Lo-fi punch is a lo-fi, I mean, the name suggests it. We designed this in order to not only deliver the lo-fi effects that people search, but also be able to crank it up and use it for a variety of different uses. You can use it as a compressor, you can use it as a saturator, you can use it as distortion, it has beat crashing, it can do a lot of stuff. And as you can see, the interface is pretty simple. It's 4 big knobs, and then if you want...
Are you using it on the whole bass bus or individual elements?
Yeah, this is on the whole bass bus. Okay. So, right now, maybe it changes quite a lot because it distorts a bit. When you can solo also the bass to hear what he's doing right now.
It's adding a lot of character.
Yeah, so this thing has the compression can be extremely heavy on this machine. It's designed like that, so you can just crank it up, but also the hard, like this thing can really squash basically anything. So then now it's on dry wet. If you put it full wet, it can get very aggressive, of course. So the dry wet is in almost all our new processors, and this is designed because you can the weird stuff and then try it. And it's designed so that it's never doing comp filtering with the dry signal. And this is very, very useful when you create a lot of distortion. I mean, you can crank up the lo-fi and also close the filter a bit, do some very heavy sound, and then you can blend that in pretty nicely. And most of the times, this is stuff that you can try it in the mix, and sometimes it works. You can try whatever you want. It also has some very creative bit reduction stuff going on if you put type 2. Which this is properly lo-fi, so this is very hard to use, but it can work. And of course it has modulation, so it has flutter, pitch, wow, stuff that is typical of tape machines. Sure. And of course it's not versatile for specific application because it's a bass, so you have to just get saturation stuff. But it really works wonders when you have to find something that is between compression, saturation, distortion, lo-fi, anything in between. This thing can deliver it.
Also probably excellent on virtual instruments, which are absolutely perfect. And we used to want to achieve, and now we've got it so easily at our fingertips. We're bored of it because everything's so perfect. So we want to mess it up a bit. Yeah, that's great.
Just to give that more character, remove the shine that is okay. This is fake. Now it sits better into real instruments, right?
Talking about the quad saturator, I'm not sure the snare bus is the best way to showcase it, but we'll try.
Let's hear.
So, quad saturator is as the name suggests, multi-band saturation.
Yeah.
It has a lot of controls, as you can see. It can do a lot of stuff. So basically, it splits the signal into 4 bands, and you can process each band independently. The very cool part is that it has modulation, and that can be going on all the 3 main aspects, which is color, which is the tonal balance of the saturation, the drive, of course, which is the amount of saturation, and the level, which is basically an output level of that band. And the envelope, basically the modulation can be adjusted so that it follows the envelope, and it can follows it positively or negatively. So as you can see here, it's brightening the saturation as the snare hits, and then lowers it. But we can do the opposite side and actually have the distortion be, so it's not very easy to hear it here, but you can basically trim this so that, let's see if you can solve that part. So right now it's distorting more the tail of the sound if we also modulate this. So it can act as a compression. Of course, this is probably not the best track to showcase it. I will try to find something later. But you can basically do a lot of creative stuff with this, because
Sounds like my Aerosmith wood snare.
so basically, yeah, you can modulate everything. You can put the color and the saturation going on. So like this, it basically compress only the transient and not the tail of the sound.
It's a gunshot. It's powerful. Yeah. It's
And if you do the opposite, it does, basically you can reduce the transient and keep the tail very dense with harmonics. And then you can also choose the amount of distortion that is applied also out of their individual bands. So in this way, the distortion that is generated here can also be higher harmonics and bleed into the...
Okay, that's an interesting idea, yeah.
Yeah, this one on VIs and on bass and on... It has a lot of application. You can use it on the master too. And
I've found myself increasingly using more saturation on snares. We just did, we're still working on Last International. Their latest single that came out last week, I put quite a lot of saturation on the snare at the very, very end of the mix to just add excitement to it. And also because you spend a long time sometimes getting this really perfect drum sound.
yeah,
And it sounds really powerful, and then you put everything else in and it just starts to sound like boom, cat, boom, boom, cat. Because you realize you spent so much time tightening it, making it sound perfect, and you miss some of the slop and the mess. But when you try to bring that back in with maybe overheads and room mics, it just blurs everything. But saturating the snare directly makes it suddenly feel like, oh, this is angry.
yeah.
And if there's a little bit of ring in there, it can really help.
Even just maybe when the chorus hits, you turn on that extra bit of saturation, so you get, the impact maybe with additional instruments.
Yeah, and also, of course, it's something that on solo, it's not that easy to spot, because, but when you do it in a mix, it really helps to bring the snare sound straight and with the correct punch to it, because if we disable this, now the snare struggles much more to pierce to the mix. While if you turn this back on, you can hear the tail of the snare.
Totally. By the way, you can download the multitracks to this. Lorenzo Senior has very generously given us these multitracks, so please download and play around with these yourself.
So I have right now put off the mastering. We have a plugin for mastering, so now, of course, the volume is much lower. So we do have a sort of master aid tool in T-RackS 6, which is called Master Match X, which is basically a revised version of the original Master Match. So this thing is extremely handy when you have to do mastering and you don't want to spend hours doing mastering. You have to do quick stuff. So basically, when you open it, it asks you to pick your target genre, or otherwise you can also press user and load a custom song that you want as a reference. And then it asks you to analyze a part of your song or your whole song, but it's recommended to use a part with pretty solid dance sound so that it can get all the frequencies that are in the mix. And basically, once you hit max, it automatically matches both the EQ and the dynamics of the Mac. And then it hints you where the target loudness should be for that genre. And then when you, so this is bypassed. This is with it on. And it doesn't end there because actually you can add it how you want it to sound. So it's very easy said, it has to be creative. So if you want it to be harder on the compression, you just push harder and it compress more. If you want a gentle compression, you can compress it less, and also you can trim the amount of compression, so less or more. And you can also trim the EQ balance, so brighter or darker sound, and this is extremely useful. You can also add some warmth to it, which is harmonic saturation, and it has emulation of vintage Transformer stuff.
Okay, yeah, that was vast, yeah.
And yeah.
And then you're on linear phase EQ.
Yeah, it can work linear phase too, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is a very handy tool. Yeah, Master Match was already a solid success.
Great, and then you've got the stereo enhance tool there, plus the mono maker. So you could go to like 100 hertz and mono everything.
Exactly.
Like that.
You have the mono maker that monos everything that is below this frequency. And also the stereo enhancers too can enhance the stereo. And it's a bit of spread if you want.
Great. Yeah, I've been using T-RackS for mastering forever. It's dumb like me. It's really quick and easy to use and gets great results, yeah. Especially when I'm doing a mix-off. If I'm going up against 4 or 5 mixers, I'll always mix the song exactly the way I want it to be and then separately master it.
Yeah.
Using T-RackS, and I pretty much always get the mix.
Yeah, then there are all the, I can open just to let you see another module that has been added, which is I think really gives the idea of the creativity that we want to do. Dual spring is a spring reverb, as the name suggests, but springs reverb usually are associated with guitars and with cabinets.
Sure.
So this thing is designed to try to bring the spring reverb into anything, not only guitars or... So this is it has 2 springs, as the name suggests, that are going in parallel, and you can blend them as you want. So here, if we blend it only to A or B, we have only 1 spring going on, and you have different materials for the springs that you can choose.
Different kinds of metal.
Yeah. It really changes a lot the sound, and these actually are not modeled, they are real ERs of springs, and it's full stereo, so each spring has been weighted differently so that it delivers true stereo effects, even if it's a mono unit, because stereo springs is not that easy to find out.
Interesting.
Yeah, it has very different sounds, and you can choose the length of the spring, which changes, of course, the decay of the...
Yeah, it's cool.
And you can also stretch it instead of... So it gets higher pitched or lower pitched. And this thing can get very low if you put the heavier spring. Yeah,
it's very, very cool indeed.
Can be cranked a lot. And you can pan them differently and use them.
Use one left, one right.
You can put a brighter one, the darker one, and pan it left and right.
Oh, that's really cool.
You can do a lot of stuff with this.
Yeah, it's very cool.
All the new modules for T-RackS have this own philosophy behind it, so you can get very creative with it.
Yeah, that's exceptionally creative. I love that. And that's just called dual spring.
Yeah.
I like the simplicity of the design. There's a little bit of a nod towards something being vintage without going so far over the top that I'm not a fan of the rusty springs, kind of, screws and dented. And it to me, get the point of what it's supposed to do, but don't spend, thousands of dollars on a GUI just to try and make it look like a piece of vintage gear.
Yeah.
I just don't think kids coming up need that. I think that you just need to give them the tools to play with and create great music, Okay, cool. So this is the new updated...
Of course it is. Here it is.
Yeah, from Lorenzo to the other Lorenzo. I know you...
I know this room very well.
Your history with this studio goes
Yeah.
very far. You're super familiar with these recording rooms and all the other gear, and you're also a user of the previous generation. And
the original one that was done like that was they used my miking techniques and
yep,
all
absolutely.
of my EQ and compression.
I'd
and
love
everything.
to let you and the people watching us to what's new.
Yeah, what did you do?
Because the weight on our shoulder was big because the first iteration was loved by many users.
Very much so.
So there was much thought put into how can we improve and give even better experience, because the goal is to get you this sound of Sunset without actually traveling to LA or booking a session there. One of the first features you might see is that green pointer in the center of the room. Yeah. So this is a full positioning system. Again, as you said, the miking system is AB inside the room, and those are fixed. So the ones also you are used to work with, but you can now move the sound source in many discrete positions, as many as the grid is telling you there, and you already know how much sound can change when you move the source throughout the room. Again, you can have comb filtering, you can have bass, blooming out or maybe thinning out. So again, that gives you actually many different versions of the room, but I think it's even having completely different rooms because the changes are really strong. So again, this is available for the 3 live rooms. So Studio 1, if you can show it into Studio 2 and Studio 3, all have the positioning system. And the way, let me say, we decided to approach this, as you can see, there's an area that we worked also with the studio to define, because this is an ideal picture of it, but sometimes there are places that are not used in practical terms because there's other stuff. So this is basically a usable recording area of the live rooms that is now accessible to you to play with and to modulate the actual room.
Yeah.
On top of that, you see a very funny, not funny, but a curious button up there that tells you sound source and Omni that is active by default. And this is another addition, an improvement to IK's, let me say, a reverb technique that now lets you shape differently the dispersion of the sound source.
Okay.
You know that there are instruments that are, let me say, more omnidirectional in pattern, like a snare drum is really diffusing the sound in all directions. A guitar cab might be much more, front focused.
Front and back if it's rear.
So this is both an accuracy tool and a creative tool to allow you to shape the response of the room. Of course, in Omni mode, if you have an instrument with a lot of high-end frequencies, those frequencies will bounce around, and that is actually, you can hear this. If you want, you can do a quick demo. Choose the room you would love to listen to. Studio 1 is fine for you?
Can we go to Studio 3?
Studio 3, yeah, I know you're particularly in love with that.
Yeah, I love Studio 1 too, but I've done most of the albums I have.
Let's bypass it for a sec.
Let's move the sound source.
So this is dry drums, and this is with it. We can crank it up a bit.
Let's also switch to the Omni. Again, the sound gets diffused in all directions.
Yeah, we can also try the other studios once. Let's try Studio 1.
So the best room mic in Studio 1 is here. Pointing at the drums, probably here.
Let's go there and then switch Omni on.
You actually get like a bass lift there. There you go.
Yeah.
You hear that?
There we
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, ooh. So that's like the Bonham
The positioning gives you the freedom to replicate the setups of legendary records. For example, in Studio 2, Toto had a specific corner they used to put the drums, and now you can access that, and it is really powerful. Closing in on the, let me say, reverb shaping tools, something that was present also in V1, but now is enhanced and present in all the combination, is the dampening of the room. So if you click on that top buttons there, you can choose to apply the variable dampening solutions, so reduce the amounts of reflections, especially in the high ends. And this is available like the real studio for the room of Studio 1 and Studio 3. Much more lively reflections, and the room again reacts more to the sound.
Two.
Yeah, we'd always put drums here.
Around here.
Yeah, because well, we had drums there and we had piano here. It was really weird.
Ah.
And I remember we mic'd the piano. I have only tracked in this room about 2 or 3 times. Yeah, 3 times. And I would do orchestra in here. This was a good room. Quite.
Yeah, it's big, but it's not as lively as you might think looking at the pictures, I guess.
And also, of course, there are more.
Yeah. I mean, that's
more options.
Yeah.
Going, let me say, outside the main window. There are some creature comforts and some creative additions.
Okay.
Again, you see there's like kind of a split view, because now this reverb is a dual reverb plugin. So you can load 2 different instances, basically in the same plugin, and mix the amounts independently. So you could have, for example, a chamber, as Lorenzo is doing right there, and a live room, and you can dial them in.
Blend them together, and this is, for example, in this part there is all.
You have phase control, you have...
Mute them spherically, of course.
In the A/B selector, you switch the visualization of which channel you're... If you just click on the B, yeah, thank you. So yeah, now there is the...
And you can trim everything. You can pre-delay one if you want. Of course, it will sound weird because you can do creative stuff.
And since we're doing creative stuff, another important addition is the size control that was not present in V1, and that one really unlocks creative freedom, because again, you can stretch or compress the impulse response. And,
amazing.
You know, great power, great responsibility, like like the saying goes. So to tame that responsibility, there's an EQ section, an improved EQ section that is independent for the 2 channels. So you can really shape, and when you combine it to reverbs, you might have clashing of frequencies. So you can maybe, find the zones for one and the other. So that really, again, gives you the freedom to shape the reverbs how you want. Closing in, we also modeled, like the previous version, the preamplifiers section of the consoles in Sunset Sound. But now you can choose between the API, the Medio preamps, or the Neve preamps, which are the pre-2, or completely switch it off if you don't want the additional, let me say, color on top of that. And creature comforts like, independent control for stereo channels, dry-wet with pan included on top of that.
What are the preamps? Because Studio 1 has the second Dimidio they built, Studio 3 has the first one they built, and then Studio 2, of course, has a Neve. So it has 2 preamps. What are the choices?
So the second one is the Neve, pre-2 is the Neve.
Yeah.
The first one is the one you said, the first...
Studio 1 or?
Studio 1,
okay.
Studio 1, yeah.
Because Studio 3 has the predecessor to the ones in Studio 1. It has the Tucci pre's in it.
Exactly.
Great.
And of course, as our plugins come with a great deal of presets, there is a folder in there that I really love that is called Creative, and gives you, let me say, an example on what are the effects you can achieve by combining 2 reverbs that are really surprising. Let's just go through.
Here on the drum? Or when to change track?
Yeah,
Let's say the flange verb. Flange verb. Yeah.
this playing with the phase. And this is completely just playing with the phase of the impulse responses.
Oh, there you
There it is.
Kind of cool.
If you can just scroll up to the next one. Yeah, these are just, the names are of course suggestions.
Cool. Oh, there you go. So that's Studio 3. I love that room there, yeah. That little room. I've cut drums in there quite a few times.
Yeah, that counterintuitive, right, to put the drums in the isobot, but it works surprisingly well, absolutely. So
We used to do that a lot when I record in studio. Yeah, it's it can get to pretty good results if you want some build up.
Yeah, 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 it's fantastic. So this is cool. I mean, this is a studio I know and love. Very, very cool. And as you probably know, when you guys did Studio 3, that was all my miking. So Cameron told me that's what we did. So I was like, no wonder it sounded exactly like what we did, because we pulled up one of our songs on there and took the close mics and fed it back through the room and like A-B'd it. It was like, it sounds exactly the same, which is also great because it means that you guys did a phenomenal job and it sounds exactly the same.
and now you can have even more fun with it, you know? So,
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Lorenzo 1, Lorenzo 2,
thanks, Warren.
Senior and Junior. That was a lot of fun. So, of course, there will be links down below here that Eric's going to put, aren't you, Eric? And there will be free trials, so try them all out. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to definitely do mixes with the new plugin suite now that I'm going to get it.
Let me know what you think about it.
Will do. And of course, the new Sunset Sound Studio 2, because I know and love the studio. And don't forget, you can download the multi-tracks as well. So thank you ever so much. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, ciao.
Ciao, thank you.
Goodbye.